well, I'm going to start with, and I'm going to have you wave or stand up. Vice President Dick Blanchard, Secretary Todd Trowbridge, Treasurer George Mellis, he's the one that counts all the money, Membership Chair Ida Crawley, and Directors John Holton, Neil Caton, and Bridget Morgan. So we have some administrative matters to address before we begin with our impressive lineup of speakers. But first of all, I hope everybody here has turned off their cell phones. I don't want to have any interruptions tonight. And we have an impressive lineup of speakers, and I would also like to welcome the speakers and the county personnel who are attending tonight. As you can see, on the side here, the fire departments, and in the back row. Fire safety and preparedness remain crucial, especially as we live very close to the open space preserve. Last year's speakers included Denise Gluhan from the Los Altos Hills County Fire District, and the Fire District is here again with a resource table. I urge you all to please check it out, along with the Santa Clara County Fire District. They have tons of important handouts, so please take a look. And also, we're lucky to have Jay Logan, who's the general manager of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District, and I'd like to invite her up here to say a few words. Please welcome Jay Logan.
Thank you so much, and it's just delightful to be here. I'll just quickly like to introduce our fire department, Santa Clara County Fire Department in the back, and we have very distinguished guests with us here with Deputy Chief Mark Shoemate, sir, and Assistant Chief Estrada in the back, Hector Estrada. And so if you have any questions, they're there to serve you, as we are over here. Fire Captain Denise Robb, retired. And we're at this table, and then the fire department is over here. So district department. And I'd like to introduce to you, we have these. This is called our service guide from Los Altos Hills County Fire District and Firewise Community. And I'd like to just mention this because this program called Home Ignition Zone started in 2023 right here at San Antonio Hills Homeowners Association. And we decided to roll out the program, had no signups. It was a beta project, and now we're up to being our premier program. And I will say, after the LA Eaton fires, in 1 month, we had 120 requests for these assessments because residents said we need to do something about our residents. So we'll have an assessor come out, spend time with you personally, use some really nifty software, and give you a profile of what you can do to mitigate vegetation on your property and keep it safe. And then we have the services of chipping and the various kinds of removal services that we have that can help you do that. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
All right. So I understand there's a parking problem, and that might be have something to do with our attendance here tonight. Apparently, it's a very popular night at the country club, and there aren't any parking spaces left. So I'm hoping that doesn't affect our residents and also our speaker, Supervisor Abe-Koga. Oh, okay, thank you. So, here's the agenda for the evening. Oh, the big one. Oh, it is there. Okay. We have 30 minutes of Homeowners Association business, including reports from the Secretary and the Treasurer and the election of directors, followed by our three speakers, Lieutenant Shawn Flores from the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, who's replacing Captain Neil Valenzuela, who was originally scheduled to speak. Thank you so much for stepping in. We have Christopher Wilson from the California Water Service and Supervisor Margaret Abe-Koga from the Santa Clara County Board of Directors. Each speaker will have 15 minutes for their presentation, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. So we really strive to run the meeting on time, so there's ample opportunity for residents to meet one-on-one with our speakers and the county personnel. So save up your questions for after the formal part of the meeting. San Antonio Hills, Inc., Homeowners Association, has been serving the country club neighborhood since 1941. Our HOA is still thriving after 85 years, and that's because our volunteer board members love this neighborhood. As shown on the map, our neighborhood covers 860 acres and has over 1,000 homes, including 3,000 homeowners and renters. The country club takes up 108 of those acres. Well, I'd like to begin by saying we are not your traditional HOA. We don't tell our residents what color to paint their houses, what plants to have in their gardens. We don't issue fines. We don't have rules. If you want pink flamingos in your front yard, go for it. So what kind of HOA are we? We're unique in unincorporated Santa Clara County as the only neighborhood with a nonprofit, community-based homeowners organization. Our HOA was created to give the community a voice in addressing issues at the local, city, and county levels. The relationships we maintain with the county are especially important, as you can see tonight with the excellent representation we have from various county departments. Unlike traditional HOAs, we do not require mandatory dues. We ask our residents to contribute $50 annually to help maintain the quality of life we enjoy here. So for just $4 a month, you can help support our efforts. So where does your money go? Your contributions fund our twice-yearly newsletter, our website, insurance, and help us host this annual meeting where residents can connect with county personnel. For 85 years, a dedicated group of volunteers has served on the board to make this neighborhood a special place to live. There are 9 members assigned to areas of San Antonio Hills above I-280 and below 280, each elected to 2-year terms. Currently, we have 8 directors and an open board position due to Nick Hansen's retirement. I want to take a moment to thank Nick, who is unfortunately not here tonight, for his many years of dedicated service to our Homeowners Association. Nick demonstrated exceptional commitment and leadership in various volunteer roles, including serving as president. The board sincerely appreciates Nick's many years of unwavering dedication to the San Antonio Hills community. He's a very, very special person, and we will miss working with him. So we have a vacant board position, and we are looking to fill it with a resident who lives south of I-280. The board meets every other month, and it's not a big time commitment compared to other leadership groups. So if you are interested in becoming more involved in your community and want to learn more about the board's activities, please see any board member after the meeting. I promise you, we really are a fun group. I want some smiles here, guys. All right, what are our goals? Our main goal is to improve the neighborhood by working with residents. The association aims to support everyone's welfare by focusing on roads, parking controls, and safety for pedestrians and cyclists. We have a great article. There's my newsletter. About sharing the road, written by George Mellis, who's out walking every day. So I encourage you to check it out. We listen to residents' concerns and direct them to the appropriate county departments. So common questions involve potholes, ADUs, CC&Rs, and automatic license plate readers. The bigger issues are crime, fire preparedness and safety, and water availability during emergencies. One way we address these issues is by having representatives from the county speak at our annual meeting. We also help with neighbor disputes when asked. We host this annual meeting to give our residents a forum to connect with the county. An important goal for me as your president is to build relationships with neighbors and foster community spirit to tackle these important issues. We can reduce crime by organizing neighborhood watch events with the sheriff's department. When neighbors get to know each other, they can respond more effectively to emergencies like earthquakes and fires. Events such as block parties, coffee gatherings, or cocktail parties help bring neighbors together. We can create text groups for streets to help connect neighbors. I want to enhance neighborhood outreach by forming a social committee to host events like these. I enjoy organizing all kinds of events and can assist anyone interested in putting one together. So if you'd like to learn more, please see me after the meeting. So how do your board members support you? So here are some of our ongoing projects. Our membership chair, Ida Crawley, keeps track of new residents and sends them letters welcoming them to the neighborhood. We work with the county to interpret and implement zoning ordinances like ADUs and SB 9 and assess their impact on our area. We are building a database of residents' emails to improve communication. We are I keep forgetting to board projects. Oh, I'm sorry. We are reviewing and scanning over 80 years of HOA documents. We are reviewing and updating the bylaws to be voted on by residents at next year's annual meeting. We continue to address questions about CC&Rs and other issues. John Holton is the board member most knowledgeable about CC&R, so you may want to direct any questions to him. We want to do more and involve more residents, and we're open to new ideas. You don't need to be a board member to volunteer for projects. We're looking for people to assist us with database management and welcoming new residents and help us to improve and update our website. If you are interested, please see me after the meeting. Now for the business portion of the meeting, I'll turn it over to our secretary, Todd Trowbridge, who will read the minutes from last year's annual meeting, and our treasurer, George Mellis, who will give an update on our financial situation and handle the election of directors.
Greetings. I still see there's cookies in the back for those of you that might want a second one. Just to review quickly the minutes from exactly almost 1 year ago, except for one day. And thanks for everyone that came early today. We moved it from a 7:30 start to a 7 o'clock start, thinking that helped everybody with their schedule. Last year, Dick Blanchard called the meeting to order at 7:32. All directors were present except for Nick Hansen, who has a vacant spot now, just marketing again. The meeting was opened by Catherine last year. I read the minutes. George Mellis gave a summary of the treasurer's report. Dick Blanchard, on my right over here, was the president last year before turning that over to Catherine this year, and he gave an introduction just of the directors and what each director does and some examples of the projects we've been working on, just like Catherine did. We had the election of directors last year. Last year, 4 directors were up for election. Ida Crowley, Nick Hansen, John Holton, and George Mellis. All were approved. The agenda speakers last time, we had, 4 of them. Bill Lattin was here from the Community Emergency Response Team. We had Denise Glubos from the Fire District, Christopher Wilson and Don Smithson from California Water, and then Supervisor Margaret Abe-Koga was here for her first time last time as well. And the meeting was closed at 9:05. Next up is George.
Good evening, everybody. So here is the treasurer's report. So we started the year, a balance of $32.88. Dues come in at $93.77. Expenses $88.03 for an ending balance $38.62 for a small profit $5.74, which is notable because the group has run at a small loss for several years. During COVID, there was no meeting. Deposits came in a little lower, and then expenses due to inflation were quite a bit higher. So it's nice to have us back in the black. Over on the right-hand side, we can see actually why. 185 homeowners paid their dues in 2025 compared to 169 in 2024 and 156 in 2023. So in financial terms, 2025 compared to 2024, we're up about $800, and we're up about $1,450 over 2 years ago. So, and expenses are actually slightly lower. So more revenues and slightly lower expenses means we're back in the black, which is great. And you can see, too, that the number of checks and the number of online payments is actually about the same. So this is a very nice trend. It makes it easier for us, obviously, the more online payments we get. So anybody that doesn't want to send in the check and wants to sign up online, that would be great. And please tick the little box for recurring online payments, so it comes out $50 every year. Also encourage your neighbors to pay their dues. Just mention it to them. The more dues we get, the better it is, and the more functions we can come up with. Also, you can sign up to receive your newsletters by email. So just send us your email address. And then finally, there are some compliance issues. We just filed our statements with the Franchise Tax Board and the Inland Revenue Service, and also the Form SI 100 with the State of California. Any questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the election for the Board of Directors. 5 of the 9 directorships are up for election for 2-year terms. The Nominations Committee has nominated the 5 currently serving board members for re-election. Is there any resident here that would like to nominate somebody for the board? Hearing no nominations, I declare the nominations closed, and I'll conduct the voting. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. All 5 nominees have been elected as directors for a new 2-year term. I will now pass it on back to Catherine to introduce our first speaker.
Thanks, George. Lieutenant Flores has been employed by the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office for 20 years. He has served significantly in the West Valley Patrol Division as a patrol deputy and sergeant, serving as a patrol supervisor. Currently, he's the assistant division commander, assisting Captain Valenzuela in managing the division. He has served as a detective and supervisor in the Family Violence General Crimes Unit, a detective in the High-Tech Identity Theft Task Force within the Investigative Services Division, a field training officer, and a commander of the Regional Auto Theft Task Force. Shawn has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Sacramento State and a master's degree in law enforcement and public safety leadership from the University of San Diego. Shawn enjoys running and traveling to all things Disney related. He is also a big movie buff, so please join me in welcoming Lieutenant Shawn Flores.
Just forward for that.
Yeah, or I can do it for you.
Oh, I can leave it.
Middle button.
Middle button, got it. All right, good evening, everyone. I know that the questions are going to be at the end, but I do like audience participation during my presentation, so I might throw out some questions to you all while we're doing it. And since I am a movie buff, I might throw in a couple movie quotes if appropriate during the presentation as well. But I appreciate the welcome to here. Captain Valenzuela unfortunately had another meeting in Saratoga that he had to go to tonight, so I am the sub. I used to work midnights out here, so it's good to see this place during the day and actually open. So it's actually a nice place. So we'll get to the presentation. All right, today we're going to go over some topics of residential burglaries, burglary prevention tips, and then ALPR update, or automated license plate reader update, as far as the unincorporated areas of your guys' town. All right, residential burglaries is always the hot topic. I mean, because it's an intrusion of the privacy of your home when someone goes into your house and steals your stuff, breaks your property and stuff like that. So I know that's always a hot topic when it comes to crime. But, knock on wood, so far in 2026, we've had 0 reports of any burglaries over here in unincorporated Los Altos. So, and as you could see, that the crime has been trending down. I mean, we went from 9 in 2022 to 8 2023, 4 in 2024, 5 last year, and then, like I said, knock on wood again, 0 at this year so far. So, as Catherine said, part of that is knowing your neighbors and basically being there for each other and seeing something and saying something. So if like your neighbors are going out of town and you know they're out of town, you see a suspicious car that's in the driveway that doesn't belong there, give us a call as a sheriff's office so that way we can come out and check it out. And that's all about seeing something, saying something. So as the trend goes, we usually, since you guys have lower numbers, it's harder to see trends. But for like cities like Saratoga and Cupertino, there's usually higher trend numbers, and it's usually January, December, usually sprinkled in the summer as well. Why do you think home burglaries happen more then?
People are gone?
Vacation, perfect, right? And that's why, because the people are usually out of town. So what are some things that you think you guys can do in order to, I guess, prevent those at those times when you guys are away from vacation? Automatic lights, perfect. Anything else? Cameras, perfect. Notify the sheriff, yes. On that topic, if you guys don't know, you guys can request patrol checks from our sheriff's office website. So if you guys are going out of town, say for 2 weeks on vacation, go to the sheriff's office website, go to the patrol check request form, and then you can ask for a patrol check of your residence. So what a patrol check entails, usually is what I did as a deputy, is I would go to your address, like 1234 Main Street. I would usually get out of my car and get my steps in. Since I worked midnights, I would flash my flashlight, make sure I don't see any broken windows or broken doors or anything like that, and then jump in my car and go away. And then those patrol checks can happen all throughout the day shift, night shift, whatever it may be. So you just put the dates and times of where you're going on, and then our patrol deputies will go out there and patrol check your house. All right, so the trend that we're seeing at the point of entry for residential burglaries is a broken rear glass door. And it's usually like a sliding glass door on, like, leading from your backyard into like your living room. If you have one that especially goes into your master bedroom, a lot of the crooks nowadays, that's what they're targeting, is that they know people have alarms and they know how they have limited time once they break into your house. So they're making a beeline straight for the master bedroom. So what do you think are some ideas or some tips that you guys can do in order to, I guess, help prevent that as far as break-ins into your backyard? I heard cameras first. We heard lights. Anybody know anything else? Fences. Locking gates, perfect, yeah. So burglary is a crime of opportunity. So if I'm a crook and I'm trying to get into your house and you have an unlocked gate, that's going to be much easier for me to get into your backyard, right? And it's going to be less suspicious of me just opening that gate and going in rather than hopping the fence. Because if you have a good neighbor, and Catherine's my neighbor, and he sees me hopping the fence into your backyard, I'm like, I don't recognize that guy. Why is he hopping the fence into the backyard? She'll probably call it in. So good. Locking gates. Anything else?
What about putting rods, if you have like a sliding glass door, putting a wooden rod?
That'll help opening the door, but they're actually just shattering the glass and then making entry. So who has alarm systems in their house? Okay. Do you guys have glass break alarms or glass break sensors? So that's one thing you can add to your system if it's possible, is a glass break sensor. What a glass break sensor do is it's basically listening for that micro frequency of a glass break, and then it sets off your alarm. So if it's near that sliding glass door or window and it hears that glass break, it'll usually set off the alarm and then alert your alarm company that the glass was broken and that it needs some kind of intrusion. Also out there is a security film that you could put onto the sliding glass door that necessarily doesn't keep it from breaking, but when it shatters, it'll keep it composed for a little bit, where you have to hit it 3 or 4 more times in order to like cave it in, rather than just shattering it with one hit and it falls down onto the floor of the actual floor. I think it ranges from like $30 to $100 depending on the thickness that you need and how much, but you can get it on Amazon, and that's one way to protect yourselves from the sliding glass door from being broken. So 4 to 12 is kind of the high time in your guys' area. Why do you think 4 p.m. to 12 a.m.? Out to dinner, good. What else about that time frame is there as far as conditions of dark, right? So burglars especially are kind of like bugs. They don't like light and they don't like people. So I know someone mentioned about lights in your backyard. That's perfect. So if you have like one of those security lights where it senses motion in your backyard, someone goes into your backyard or your side fence and stuff like that, shines a light on them, they don't want to be seen. So if that light hits them, they might maybe retract and go away. Another common thing, I don't know if you have a dog, but if you throw a beware of dog sign like on that side gate, like me as a crook, like I don't know if you do have a dog, you don't have a dog, if you have a Chihuahua, if you have a Doberman Pinscher, but I might not make that chance. I'm pretty fast in a sprint, but I don't know if I can outrun a dog, so I might not take that chance if I see a beware of dog sign. So that's another deterrent. Cameras is a good one too, because like again, people, they don't want to be seen, so if they see cameras, they see lights, they might skip it, they might not, but that's at least a deterrent. So we already hit some of them. Lock all doors and windows. I know you guys are in a very nice neighborhood, but again, residential burglary is a crime opportunity. So if I don't need to shatter a door or kick in a door or something like that, and it's just open, that makes it a lot easier for me to get into your house. So please lock doors and windows. Who's seen the movie Home Alone? From the chuckles, I could hear it a lot. You remember when Kevin was at home and the wet bandits were going to come and hit his house? What did Kevin do? Well, booby traps, yeah. But prior to that, when the wet bandits were originally going to hit his house, do you guys remember what he did? He made it seem like there was a lot of people home. Like he had the fake people. They had them like dancing in the shadows. He had the music on. He had all the lights on in the house and stuff like that. So with that, make it seem like you're home if you're not home. Automated lights is one thing. Another thing is if you have like an old school AM/FM radio, you can turn it on, but turn it low enough where it sounds like voices in your house. Because if you turn it too loud, of course, it's going to sound like the radio. But if you turn it low enough, if I put my ear to the door, it might sound like there's some kind of conversation or something like that going on in your house. So it makes the illusion of someone's home. And if you want to go all out and get some kind of like noise thing where it makes a barking dog at your front door, perfect too. Who has the like Ring doorbells at the front door? Good majority of people. So when someone you don't notice comes up and rings it, what do you guys do if you guys aren't home? Do you guys answer it, or you just kind of just let it go and you kind of just check your phone, see that you don't know that person, and put your phone back in your pocket? Well, if you don't answer it and you're not home, what I suggest is at least answer it. Because most of them have those features where you can answer it from your phone and just say, hey, what's your business? How can I help you? Because they don't know if you're there or not. But at least if you answer it, then you can at least give the illusion that you are home. If you don't have a Ring doorbell and someone knocks on the door, what do we not do? And I'm guilty of it too. We usually don't answer the door, right? Especially if I see through my Ring doorbell or I see through the people that I don't recognize the person. I'm like, well, I don't want to talk to that person. They're probably a solicitor. I don't want to listen. A lot of crooks, what they'll do is they'll knock on the front door to gauge if anybody's home. And usually, sometimes they work in groups. So as I'm knocking on the front door, gauging if you're home, my 2 or 3 partners might be skirting in the back, trying to break into the back. So, of course, if you don't feel comfortable opening that front door, don't. But at least maybe like holler through the door. Like, hey, how can I help you? Just through the door. No, I'm not interested. Whatever you want to say. So then at least they know they're home. Because more than likely, they're not going to break into your house if they know somebody's home. Because we had several occurrences, especially in Cupertino and Saratoga, where they didn't think somebody was home. They broke the glass sliding door. And then someone making the dinner in the kitchen said, like, who's here? Who's there? And then they immediately run away. So like I said, they don't want to do it when people's home because they want the easy steal. Patrol checks we got, suspicious activities we got. Where do we usually keep our like safes and our valuables? In what room in the home? Master bedroom. So a lot of crooks nowadays, they're savvy to that they know that's where the safes are, that's where the jewelry are, that's where the money is the master bedroom. So what we're suggesting is, if you can, move that to a different room. That's like unassuming, like a kid's room if possible, a laundry room, somewhere where me as a crook, I know I have limited time. I don't have time to go through the house if your alarm's going off. I know I only have like 4 or 5 minutes before the police are coming. So that's why they usually make the beeline to the master bedroom, looking for that safe, looking for that jewelry. But if it's in another room, I'll go to that master bedroom, see nothing, and then I might just leave because now I know there's nothing and I don't want to get caught by the cops. Doors and windows we got. Door should have a solid core. Gates and fences we did. Alarm systems. I can't stress enough, turn them on. Even if you're going to go to your neighbor's house for 30 minutes, an hour, or go to the store for 20 minutes, pick up your grandchildren, kids, that's going to be real quick, turn your alarm systems on. Because we've had several instances where the home burglary occurs, but the alarm system was off, or the cameras were off because, hey, I thought I wasn't going to be on for 10 minutes. I didn't think about turning them on. So turn them on every time you leave the house. Light monitor system, remember to activate the system. keep them in good working order as well. So if you have a faulty sensor, like on a door, on a window, just get it checked out, get it replaced, replace the battery, whatever you may do. So that way your alarm system is always operating at efficiency. All right, so automated license plate readers. So initially we had a proposal that was in the works for automated license plate readers, specifically with the flock safety company, because that's pretty much what everybody has in this area is flock safety. Unfortunately, recently, due to privacy concerns that have come with flock, due to data sharing, that our surveillance use policy that governs the sheriff's office use of automated license plate readers were slightly modified where we can't use flock safety as a vendor anymore. So, but our administration has had initial talks with other vendors in order to get other automated license plate readers for your guys' area. So that's kind of the update for that. So we'll just have to go through that process just with a different vendor in order to get those installed over here. Yes, sir.
Los Altos Hills has abandoned, it sounds like they basically abandoned their license plate program. Can you give us some background on that?
Yes, essentially they just like the Board of Supervisors, when they modified our surveillance use policy, they cited the data sharing portion of flock. And that was kind of the issue everybody's having, which is flock as the vendor, not necessarily the automated license plate readers themselves. It's just that flock had some issues with data sharing with the federal government and other parts of the country. And that's where kind of the town of Los Altos Hills had the main issue with. It was kind of just the privacy and the actual data sharing itself. Yes, the town of Los Altos Hills, they canceled their flock contract and they're removing all their cameras. What's that?
I thought they were good to have.
They are a good investigative tool.
No, even if they're not working.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I was sorry to leave.
Unfortunately, I believe they're like the property of flock. So, and I think the town themselves want them just removed in general. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts that they're actually running. Did I answer your question, sir?
We have some.
With the cameras reducing crime, reducing burglaries?
We did see a significant decrease in burglaries in Los Altos Hills from the time that they were installed in the town till now. So, I mean, we couldn't really gauge on whether that was a direct reflection, but I mean, we did see a trend of the actual residential burglaries going down after that. I heard a question that, do we have any?
Yeah, in our neighborhood.
We do not currently in any unincorporated parts, but like I said, we're going in the works of trying to get them here.
I have a question. What was the timeline for this review? I understand you're not going to use Flock, but what's the timeline to find the right vendor and potentially put the readers in?
Sister of Oberdorfer?
Now we're in the procurement stages with several vendors with the county. So unfortunately, we do have to restart some of the process. But I'm hoping that we have it in this fiscal year's budget. Our goal is to try to procure them this fiscal year, so by the end of June.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it for the presentation, so questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just recently, or it's been more of a prevalence, there was someone who did donuts, like, late at night
Mhm.
on Arbor and Fairway.
Okay.
And you can see still those tire marks. And a lot of people are using like really noisy cars, like at 4 a.m. or whatever. I don't know if that is 280 or it's, I don't know. Okay.
Was there a question associated with?
So, no, I was wondering.
Oh.
If there's anything that can be done for that noise abatement. But, you know, the donut on Fairway and Arbor is still visible at that intersection.
Yeah, of course. If you do hear people doing donuts, I mean, that's an exhibition of speed as well as could be reckless driving. So if you do hear that, definitely call it in, and then we'll dispatch deputies out here in order to investigate. If it's,
Middle of the night, but I noticed today in the morning, I saw the.
oh, I got you. I could pass that on to our midnight sergeant, and then maybe do a little more patrol checks over here in the area. But for loud vehicles on 280, we can't do too much about that, yeah. Especially if it's just loud mufflers and stuff like that. Okay. Yes,
I've
sir.
got one other question. Are there, you talked about burglaries, but have there been any other really bad crimes like murders or things like that in our neighborhood?
No, nothing. Usually over this side of town or this side of the county, I should say, Cupertino, Saratoga, Los Altos Hills, as well as unincorporated Los Altos, the bigger trend of crimes we see is actually identity theft and fraud related crimes. I don't have a slide on it up there, but the biggest thing about identity theft and fraud related crimes is listen to that inner voice in the back of your head. So if like someone calls you and says like you're a prince of some foreign legion and they need like 20 grand in order to get your princeship into play, like just kind of something doesn't sound right here. Or if it's kind of a trend that comes in waves, is they'll say like, hey, this is Lieutenant Flores from the Sheriff's Office. My badge is 9342. You have a warrant for your arrest. I need $2,000 in Apple gift cards. Email to me or you're going to jail. One, the Sheriff's Office is not going to cold call you like that. If you have a warrant, I'm coming to your house to try to arrest you. Two, we're never going to ask for Apple gift cards or any monetary value over the phone. Because they'll literally stay on the phone with you and take you step by step. Hey, drive down to Target, buy $2,000 worth of gift cards, scratch off the code on the back, take a picture of it and send it to me. Like that should be red flags for you if you're actually doing that. As well as you can always call our dispatch or our operations desk at our Sheriff's Office headquarters and verify the identity. So like my badge number is 1993. So if they say my badge number is 9342, you can say, hey, do you have Lieutenant Flores with you? Like, yes, we do. What's his badge number? Well, his badge number is 1993. Okay, then that's automatically, because I've had the same badge for 20 years, so if I got it wrong now, then there's probably something wrong with my memory. Yes, ma'am.
So I want to know how the sheriff's department can help us have neighborhood watch meetings.
Okay. Do you guys have any right now? I can't remember. Okay.
No, we don't, so I'd like to start doing that. And,
I'll have to get back to you on that process. I don't know the full process. I know it has to do with like getting the neighborhood together, and there's a few other steps along with it. I would just have to kind of do a little research and actually how to do that. If I can get back to you on that one.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
One more question in the back, if you don't mind. Yeah.
No, we're doing fine with time.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so of the 5 burglaries in 2025,
Uh-huh.
did those homes have alarm systems, number one? And number two, if they did they help, and what came of it?
That question I'm not too sure of. It's usually not a common question we ask while we're doing a burglary investigation. I do know if you do have a home alarm, it doesn't necessarily, it's not a magical shield, right? It's not going to keep you from getting your house burglarized. However, if I break into your house, the alarm's sounding, I know I'm on the clock. Like I know I have 5, maybe 10 minutes to be in your house before the police are coming and I need to get away, right? But if you don't have that alarm going off, I might know that I have all the time in the world, so now I'm going to take my time going room to room, looking for other stuff. So there's pros and cons of both, right? But I guess long story short, I don't know that. But I do know that, like I said, alarm systems do help deter at least that time. Yeah.
So I think since you don't have that, it seems like it should be a standard procedure in the police department to have that information, because that would help to determine, the residents how effective it is, and also what came of the burglary. Were they able to catch up? Did the flock system camera at the time check some questionable vehicles? Those are the follow-up things I think will be helpful for the residents.
Mm-hmm. I do know that like in Cupertino and Saratoga and the town of Los Altos Hills, when we had access to flock, that's what the patrol deputies would do, as well as our detectives, is that if they had an actual time frame of the burglary, they would start searching the flock cameras for vehicles that hit off a nearby camera and then do some research into there. Because if you see a vehicle that has like maybe a stolen plate or it's from out of the area, I mean, that's not necessarily slam dunk that that's our suspect, but at least that gives an investigative clue, especially if it's from like the East Bay or an area where we know that people come down and actually commit crime. So But I could pass that on to our patrol supervisors to see if they can, but no guarantee.
So I've been reading about the scrambling of the, to make it inactive.
Yes.
How common is that in our area? Is that just on TV?
Recently, we had one in the town of Los Altos where they did have a Wi-Fi scrambler, and their sole purpose was to kind of scramble the alarm system because they had one of those wireless alarm systems, and that's what it was affecting. And they also had a camera on their driveway that they kind of mounted, and I think in a bush, in order to see traffic coming in and out of the house. So with that, I mean, hardwired is always, I guess, the best way to go. I mean, as electronics and systems get better, they also get a little more vulnerable and worse at the same time, where a hardwired system is hardwired to a panel, so it's less likelihood to get scrambled like that because it's actually hardwired rather than a scrambler hitting the sensors.
I thought it was more common to be wireless.
It is, yeah. Like I said, as electronics progress, we're more and more we get wireless. But then again, like I said, it opens us up to vulnerabilities, unfortunately.
You don't know of a way to.
As of right now, no. I guess it just depends on your alarm system and how well it's shielded from it. But like I said, in the 2 years I've been back to the West Valley Patrol, I've only seen that one instance where there was using Wi-Fi. But I do know San Jose has run into it a few times.
Well, thank you. And thank you. That was very, very informative. Next is Christopher Wilson from the California Water Service Company, the Los Altos Suburban District. Chris has 21 years of experience with the Water Utility District. He's 16 in management, and his primary role is to oversee the day-to-day operations, maintenance, and repair of the water system. Please welcome Christopher Wilson.
All right, thank you, and thank you for having me back this year. Sorry, I'm cheating by using my phone because I didn't print out my own presentation. So California Water Service has been serving this area since the 1930s. I know the first bullet there says 1926. That was when the corporation was formed and the first few water districts were established in California. So as a corporation, we have over 100 years of experience. We're serving in areas across all of California. You see on the map on the left, everything that's called out is kind of a general vicinity of a Cal Water Service area. And then additionally, we serve in multiple different states. So Washington, New Mexico, Hawaii, now in Texas, and most recently, we're working on acquisitions in Oregon and Nevada. We serve over 2 million Californians through almost 500,000 service connections and move about 80 billion gallons of water a year. We have, and in doing that, we have the kind of obligation to pull water quality samples frequently. So we're calculating in over 400,000 water quality samples and tests that are run annually. And next slide. So this is just an overview of the Bay Area. The smaller kind of blob on the bottom is the Los Altos Suburban District. So we're serving multiple cities, not just the city of Los Altos or Los Altos Hills. To our north is Bear Gulch District, which serves Atherton, Menlo Park. And then further north, we go into Redwood City, San Mateo, South San Francisco, which is considered our Bayshore District. On the far side of the map, we have an area in Livermore. That's okay. So locally, we began in 1931 when California Water purchased the Los Altos and Country Club water companies. So right here in this general vicinity was where this district was formed. The next major acquisition was in 1953 when we purchased what was called the Suburban Water Company, and that gave us our name that we hold on to today, which is the Los Altos Suburban Water Company. And at that time, we moved into our offices down on Miramonte Street, and we've been there since 1953, even though we've grown, and we have needed to lease a little bit of extra space because we have, the need for the employees and having a place to work. The last acquisition was in North Los Altos when Citizens Utility Company was acquired, and there was some political dealings with that, in that the city of Los Altos was not satisfied with the services that the citizens were receiving. So there was a condemnation proceeding that took place, and Cal Water was asked to kind of perform an acquisition of a failing water utility and bring it up to speed. So locally, we're not just in Los Altos or Los Altos Hills. We also serve portions of Cupertino, Sunnyvale, and Mountain View. So that gives us five general areas, including some of the unincorporated Santa Clara County. This is because this area was historically a farming community. And, you know, back in 1931, Sunnyvale, Mountain View, and Cupertino really didn't exist. So we had infrastructure that was going to certain places, and we retained the rights to serve those areas. So when the cities were formed, they drew boundaries around Cal Water and said everything else outside of that boundary is now ours. Cities like Sunnyvale and Mountain View have their own water utilities, where Cupertino opted to contract with San Jose Water. So San Jose Water has a portion of Cupertino, as does Cal Water. Just for our company, we have over 56,000 customers, 297 miles of water main, and we're up over 19,000 individual connections, continuing to grow. We can produce at a max day roughly 25 million gallons per day during a peak period, and we have a staff of 27. So for those that were present last year, we highlighted quite a bit of work that had been planned. So really, I'm just going to give you some updates on the things that we've been doing and are continuing to do. So specifically in the Los Altos Hills area, we're continuing with main and station improvements. One of the key projects that we're continuing to work on is what we call System Control and Data Acquisition. The acronym is SCADA. That's really just a big fancy word for computers and radio communication. So because this area is so hilly, anybody with a first responder that has a radio probably knows that getting a signal somewhere might be difficult. So we've undertaken relocating an antenna and all of the communication equipment to one of the higher points that we serve, which is out on Mora. And that gives us a direct line back to the office. So during an emergency, we have much less interference where our radio communication system can work. That gives us centralized control over, you know, what's happening at the stations and the ability to command them on and off and to do certain things. So that's an ongoing project. Continuing to replace aging water mains, we do about 15,000 feet a year. So I think if my math's right, that's just over 3 miles. Not specifically just in Los Altos or Los Altos Hills. You know, we do spread that out across all 5 communities. If you've been downtown within the last year, you probably have been cursing us because we've been in the parking lots, tearing up the roadways, and kind of just being a general nuisance. But the end result is upgraded water mains, better capacity to carry the water, better performance at the fire hydrants and the fire services, and overall increase of public safety and service to the customers. Additionally, we're just kind of have a systematic approach of going around to our production stations, looking at the assets there, and if we have a booster that is starting to underperform, either for age or wear and tear or any number of factors, we're, you know, go through those systematically and just replace them. That way when the call comes and they're really needed, they turn on and they work. Sort of one of the bigger projects that I had highlighted early in 2025 was a transmission main project. The difference between a transmission main and a distribution main. Distribution main is the one that's on the street near your home, right? They're usually 8 inches, 6 inches, something like that. They convey the water to your home, right? That's for your health and sanitation. A transmission main is really designed for a utility to move a mass amount of water from one point to another. So the mains that we have are 18 to 24 inches, and we completed in 2025 the second phase of a 16-inch main that kind of parallels Foothill. And the whole purpose of that is the main that it currently exists on Foothill was installed in the 50s and 60s. So it's time to start focusing on, can I replace that But taking out a mile worth of 18-inch water main is a really big project and would take many months, and it would interrupt a lot of people's lives if I couldn't get the water to them. So we designed a bypass so that we could move water around the areas that we want to target. And then in future years, we'll start systematically going after the older transmission main. In addition to that, we've done three 18 or 24-inch control valves in the prior 2 years, and then just this year we completed a fourth one. And we have 2 more to go. So if you have kids that go to school over at Pinewood School off Fremont, or if you spend any time on Grant near Farndon down by the Luckies, you'll see that we're back out there doing additional work, and that's to take out older infrastructure. Like a valve would be pretty critical that it operate when we need it to. That way if something does break, we have the ability to shut it down, and we're not flooding out people's homes and damaging the property. Wildfire hardening and control valves. So this was on Cal Water's radar many years actually before we started seeing the high fire seasons come upon us. So systematically every year we're targeting 2 to 3 different areas where we're installing a control valve. Control valve is different in that it doesn't require a human being to sit there and manipulate it to open it or close it. So it could be a valve that prevents water from flowing in one direction but allows it in the other, or it could be one that regulates pressure. So we're looking at areas of our distribution system where historically we want to control pressure by separating one area from another, taking out the normally closed valves and putting automatic valves in there. That way during an emergency like a fire, that valve can open of its own accord when pressure drops on one side or the other, allowing the firefighters and public safety to do their job without necessarily needing to rely on us to be present at the time. Emergency preparedness is an ongoing thing, so next slide. Emergency preparedness is an ongoing thing. We've got a lot of permanently installed backup power generators at many stations. This is to address things like when PG&E cuts the power during high winds or high heat. We have power ready and available to keep the stations running. That way you guys have water when you need it. Vegetation management, hydrant maintenance, those are all things that we undertake every year at the beginning of the year to prep for fire seasons. That way we have created our defensible spaces around our stations. That way when an emergency comes, the fire department doesn't have to necessarily worry about preserving our station over your home. And it also improves our survivability and our ability to stay in operation during a catastrophic emergency. Hydrant inspections and maintenance are also annual. We 100% every year put our eyes on every hydrant. We do initial checks, and then every 5 years, so on a 20% cycle, we're actually taking them apart, disassembling them, doing maintenance that may be needed. Company-wide, we have a fleet of mobile generators and a whole staff full of additional people and equipment that can come from any portion of the state. Should we have an emergency here, we can rapidly grow from 27 to 50 to 100 people within several hours to address whatever the need is. So how can you help, or how can you be involved? We host an annual EOC meeting, and EOC is just another acronym for an Emergency Operations Center training. We host those with elected officials, representatives from the fire, police, public safety, elected officials. We bring them in for a one-day class where we kind of go through our process, which follows the NIMS SIMS systems that the fire departments use, because 90% of our safety personnel are ex-firefighters, retired fire captains and fire chiefs. So they've got us on board with what the first responders do, and we model our approaches after them. Individually, you can just ensure that your contact information is always current, and that it's kept up to date. That way, if we do need to call you or email you, we have current and accurate contact information. So that's all that I have. Any questions? Catherine?
Okay. We live very close to the open space preserve, and, heaven forbid there would be a fire, but we always have to be prepared. So what does the water, what is your plan if there is a fire up here in this neighborhood?
The primary plan is to make sure that we're prepared in advance, right? And twofold on that. Aside from trainings and preparedness and making sure that we have the equipment, it's things like the projects that I highlighted. If any of you were on Mora this last year, towards the end of the year, you probably saw us on West Loyola or Mora. You know, quite an interruption, and I apologize for that, but it was a necessary project. That project was decided upon in 2020, 2021, and because we're a regulated entity, regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, we don't just arbitrarily get to build whatever we want. We have to have their approval. So we secured all of that and then built this project before the Palisades fire, you know, before some of these other big emergencies happened. And the whole concept of that was to ensure that I had a larger main that was newer in construction than the 1970s, that linked an important station that sits midway up that hill to the largest tank that is on the top of the hill up at Mora Open Space. So that main went from a mix of 6 inches and 4 inches, which was pretty common for the time that it was built, to a 12-inch main. That allows me to run multiple boosters, move more water, and keep that tank full during a catastrophic emergency where the fire department needs to draft as much as they can off of the fire hydrants that we have. The hydrants themselves and general water utility design is not designed to fight a wildfire. It's designed to fight a structure fire, a single home, you know, maybe more than that, but it's not designed for hundreds of firefighters to be hooked up and drafting and filling their equipment round the clock. So the best chance that we have is to make sure that we can run everything at the maximum capacity to keep filling those tanks. That way, as the first responders are drawing on them, we're staying ahead of the decrease in the water. And then we have other projects where we're looking at, is this a viable place to put a booster pump? That way, when the fire department is hooking to something, the boosters kick on in a controlled manner and increase the flow and the pressure to increase their ability to pull on that water and fight a structure fire. The other thing that I can say, and it's somewhat of a plug, I'm not just a Cal Water employee, but I also sit on the board of directors for the Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council. So I do a lot of collaboration with Los Altos Hills County Fire, and what Jay Logan said at the onset was absolutely true. Having your home evaluated, getting that defensible space built, that is probably one of the best opportunities for you to make use of the resources in the community and get the professional opinions on what can you do as a homeowner to improve your chances of survivability of a natural disaster.
Seems like, maybe I'm wrong, but that our water is harder and a little more scaly than it had been.
You are not wrong.
Okay. Wondering, is that temporary, and should we be looking at water softeners and that kind of thing?
It is somewhat temporary, but there will be a second event. And the explanation behind this is you've seen the district and you all kind of know the terrain. We have a certain amount of wells within our district that operate, and pulling from the groundwater contains natural minerals, calcium mainly among them. That's the main constituent that attributes to hardness. So we also take about 80%, 70 to 80% of our water from our wholesale water provider, which is Valley Water, formerly Santa Clara Valley Water. So they're the quasi-government entity that runs the reservoirs and the treatment plants and all that. So surface water is much softer and much more desirable. They have their pipeline from their treatment plant all the way through the communities, through Los Gatos, Saratoga, Sunnyvale, Cupertino, Mountain View, and Los Altos. They have us isolated because they've taken that water pipe down for maintenance. And that's the only mechanism for us to get purchased surface water from the wholesaler. So typically it's a blend. You would see the hardness increase as we turn wells on. This is a unique case that we're completely isolated. We're running 100% on well water, and therefore the water's hard. That will start to go away. Their projected timeline is the end of April for when they will have that water pipe back on. But they do have another project planned for a second phase that would pick back up in October of this year. They haven't formally told us that it's an absolute certainty that they're going to do it, but we know that they have an intent of doing it either this year or at some point in the future.
How long would that project last?
The current project ran from the beginning of October until the end of April. So I think that's about 6 months, 6 to 7 months. The second phase, I think, would be a little bit shorter because they've done a majority of the work and then they just have one more section that they want to attend to. So it would be, a third of the time. But they're also taking the opportunity of that treatment plant being down to do some needed maintenance that they have at their own facilities to make sure that they can produce the water. And I think you had a question.
You talked, I think, previous year, the year before, about water main replacement along Miramonte, which kind of tore the street up and left a big mess. I was hoping it was going to get fixed up, but I bike and drive on it a lot, and it's still quite a mess. Is that the water company's responsibility to fix?
So wherever we've done excavation, and Miramonte, forgive me, but Miramonte goes through Los Altos and into Mountain View, so we were dealing with multiple agencies. We did that in 3 different phases, and wherever we did excavation, we restored the asphalt to whatever the city specifications were, and then we job walk those with the city inspector. And if there's any deficiencies that they note, we come back out and fix them. We're not off the hook until it's done to the satisfaction of the city. And then the other part of that is because we've done an excavation in the public right-of-way, we own that cradle to grave. So if our trench line fails or that paving fails, the city should notify us and say, this was your excavation from 2 years ago, you need to go out and fix it. And we will absolutely do that. But I know Miramonte had a lot of work, especially in Mountain View, and we were collaborative with them, but it didn't appear that they've come through and done their paving yet. And I know the cities operate off specific budgets and cycles, so it may be a part of the city's function to highlight that and escalate it. So.
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Chris. Chris will be here afterwards if you have any more questions for him. So thank you. That was really informative. Let's see. Margaret, where's our supervisor? Margaret Abe-Koga is completing her first year as our representative on the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, which includes San Antonio Hills. We are delighted to have you back here for our second annual meeting. Margaret is a native Californian born to immigrant parents and raised in San Mateo. She graduated from Harvard University with a degree in government. After graduation, she joined Congresswoman Anna Eschew's district office staff. She served on the Santa Clara County Board of Education as mayor of Mountain View and in various other elected and appointed roles, receiving numerous awards for her leadership. And one of the things I admire about this very accomplished woman is that she holds a 3rd-degree black belt in Kendo, the Japanese martial art of fencing, and was part of the National Kendo Championship women's team in 2002. Impressive. So Margaret is accompanied by key staff members and representatives from various county departments, which she will point out to you, and she will answer questions from the audience and direct them to the appropriate county representatives who will stay available after the meeting. So please join me in warmly welcoming Supervisor Abe-Koga.
Good evening, everyone. The 3rd-degree black that was over 25 years ago, so a little difficult to do that these days. But thank you so much for having me. As mentioned, I'm Margaret Abe-Koga, your county supervisor for District 5, which covers 9 out of the 15 cities in Santa Clara County. So I actually have the most cities in a district, starting from the north end of Palo Alto. I'm from Mountain View, as mentioned. We go through Los Altos Hills, into the West Valley cities of Cupertino, Saratoga, Los Gatos, Monte Sereno, and they have half of Almaden. So I've managed to memorize all the cities and to visit each one. And it's really an honor to be able to serve on the board and represent all of you. I actually really enjoy the fact that there are so many communities in my district, and I've noticed that every city is unique and very special, but the one common theme is I've just been really, really inspired by the residents, how interested, informed, involved that you all are in making our community a better place for everyone. So thank you for that. As mentioned, I just completed my first year in January and moving into the second year, and it's been quite a whirlwind, but very much really enjoy what I get to do, and I'm very proud of the organization Santa Clara County as an organization is, and I just wanted to recognize many of our county representatives who have joined us here today. From our fire department, we have Deputy Fire Chief Brian Glass, I believe. Is Brian here? Oh, maybe not. No Brian today. Okay, is Mark Shoemate here? There he is, yes. And I'm sorry, I see some others, but I don't have all of your names, so would you mind just standing up and introducing yourselves?
James Hahn, Fire Plans Examiner from Fire Prevention. Caleb Flanagan, Deputy Fire Marshal. Hector Scott, Fire Marshal.
Great, thank you. And then
D. King Rob, Los Altos Hills County Fire District.
yes, so we have our county, the Santa Clara County Fire Department, and then the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. In addition, we have the manager, Jay Logan. There she is in the back, and one of our commissioners and former Los Altos Hills Mayor, Roger Spreen. Thank you for joining us. And then from the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, I think you might have met them already, our Lieutenant Shawn Flores and Assistant Sheriff Adam Oberdofer. So thank you for being here. We also have our Department of Planning and Development Director, Jacqueline Onciano, and I'm going to ask her to speak in a little bit. Unfortunately, our Consumer and Environmental Protection Agency staff were not able to make it this evening, but if you have any questions, please direct them to me or my staff, and we'll be sure to get them to our appropriate staff. So just wanted to share a few thoughts and then happy to take questions. As y'all probably can imagine, this is a very challenging time for folks in government. I said that last year. I think I said that, so I'm repeating myself, but I must say it continues to be challenging and more challenging, and primarily we see how the federal government and what their actions are, how they're affecting us locally. As you know, last summer, the one big beautiful bill that many of us don't really think is that beautiful, dramatically reduced Medicaid payments, and that's really affects the county because, as you probably are aware, our county especially, we have a health and hospital system. We have 4 hospitals, and most of our patients are Medi-Cal patients, so Medicaid in California is Medi-Cal. And I was actually very surprised to hear or to learn that 1 out of 4 residents in Santa Clara County actually are on Medi-Cal. So these cuts have resulted in about $1 billion for Santa Clara County. Our total budget is $13.5 billion. Half of that goes to our health and hospital system. So this has been really dramatic. I've been in elected office for 20 years now, and I've been through the Great Recession back in 2008, 2009, and COVID. So I've seen my share of crises. I have to say this is probably the most drastic that I've seen our county have to face. And so it's been really challenging in that really affecting folks' ability to pay for their health care premiums through the Affordable Care Act as well, particularly for small businesses and those who are self-employed. This exponentially increases their premiums. So, it's really like rolling the dice for health care. The county is seen as the social safety net for the community. We take care of everyone regardless of their ability to pay. And so a lot of that we are able to do so because of Medi-Cal covering many of our patients, but this has really changed that. Fortunately, and I want to thank those of you who supported Measure A last November. This was the temporary 5/8-cent sales tax that passed, and that is providing about $330 million to fill that hole. But as you can see, it's not the entire hole, and so we are working on how to close that hole, hoping that the state would come in. We're still working on that, but frankly, we're looking at reductions. And we just finished our mid-year budget and reduced $200 million. We're looking at the next fiscal year, 26-27. We're starting that budget process, and we're looking at having to cut another $270 million. So it's a real challenge. That my hope is to work to figure out ways to maintain as many of our services as we can with reductions. But I've learned over time that when you eliminate programs and services, it's really hard to bring them back. And so my hope is to be able to maintain, and things will get better. That's something else, a lesson I've learned over time, is that we are in these cycles and things will get better. So it's about how do we hold on and maintain for as long as we need to get through this. We are starting our budget process for this coming fiscal year. What I would appreciate from all of you is your input. I would like to know what your priorities are for the community, and that will inform me, as we're going to have to make some tough decisions, and it's going to be based on the community's priorities. So unfortunately, we're probably going to be looking at reductions across the board, but we do want to maintain what's most important for our community. So that's the budget. I know that you've talked about fire safety, very important to this and many communities in my district. We just finished the first phase of the county's N5 sensor pilot program, and these sensors detect smoke, heat, and other signs of fire before humans do. So that helps with our firefighters, giving them some time to respond, and it gives us, the residents, valuable time to evacuate. So the program has installed 15 county-operated N5 sensors that connect to the existing N5 sensor array throughout the West Valley, and this creates what has been called a virtual fire break. These sensors give our on 24/7, 365 days of the year monitoring, and it allows for that early detection. It detects even at night when it's hard to see signs of fire starting. So it's a very valuable system, and I'm very pleased that we're able to get this up and running. This is actually just the beginning of our county-operated N5 sensor system, and we hope to be able to expand that throughout the county over time. Last fall, we held a fire summit where we invited fire professionals, many of them that you see here, city leaders and Stanford researchers, to get together to talk about ways that we can work together to increase our fire safety activities, and we'll continue to address those challenges. And there's a lot of conversation about how we can do that. I think my sheriff department talked about the ALPRs, the automated license readers, and I would say that I personally, from my district, have heard loud and clear that there is support for ALPRs. The challenge we had was with the actual vendor, Flock, and as you may have read, my own police department of Mountain View was one of the departments that was affected by a breach of the data security. So I actually went back when that happened and they announced it. I went back to talk to my one of the captains there and asked, well, what happened? And what was explained to me was really, to be frank, I feel a breach of trust and a lack of transparency. And so as much as I support ALPRs, and frankly, I do my best to support our sheriff and our fire departments, public safety has always been a top issue for my community and my district now. I just did not feel comfortable continuing with this one vendor. So I think it's been explained that the Sheriff's Department is looking at another vendor, and my hope is that they will be able to come back fairly quickly with an alternative. So that was the vote. There's been some talk about what was the vote, and the vote was to continue to leave the door open for ALPRs, but not to continue with this one vendor, the Flock. And then finally, I wanted to ask Jacqueline, our Director of Planning and Development, to join me. I serve on the Housing, Land Use, Environment, Transportation Committee. I'm actually the chair of that committee, and we just met yesterday where we're focused on quite a bit of discussion on some of the reforms that are underway in our planning department. I appreciate Jack and her leadership. Planning is always challenging, and I often hear, and I've heard this, for many years. I don't think anybody's completely satisfied with planning, and there's always room for improvement. So we've undergone what I'd call like an audit, a management audit in a sense, or a review of how we can improve and make a positive change to improve how our department works, how it interacts with our residents. And so I'd like to ask Jack to share some of the strategies that we're looking at.
Good evening. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce the Deputy Director. Her name is Anastasia Aziz, and this is her third day with us, and she's over she's over our planning division, and so I would like for you to know who she is. But I'll speak briefly to the transformation plan that we have relative to our land use entitlements. We have stood up a model called people-centered services. And really our core values are care. First of all, we're working to make sure that our staff is knowledgeable, that we are accountable for the information that we're giving the public, that we're respectful, because a lot of times when the public approaches us, we're not speaking a language that's easy for people to understand relative to a lot of the housing bills, ADUs, SB 9, and then that we are responsive and respectful in delivering this information. This is our new business model. We stood this up last year. It's something that we're working to perfect. It's very important because the bills that are coming through Sacramento are changing the landscape of how we do business in planning. And it's impacting not only HOAs, but it's impacting all of our residents relative to housing. And a lot of the bills don't give the notifications to residents that we once had. It's making a lot of the structures that are being built in your neighborhoods ministerial, where we have to really look at our water access, our sewer access. And so we're working to make sure that when residents come in to propose development, that we give them good information on the site constraints for the areas so that they can make sound decisions, and that the HOAs can know and the residents can know what's coming. We want to be predictable and transparent so that you all know what's happening in your neighborhoods, and not later, sooner than later. So this is a strategy that we're working out. We're very excited. We're working with environmental health, our fire departments, what you know as roads and airports, but for some of you, it's like public works, right? Your streets. We use that term, roads and airports, but that's equivalent to public works for some jurisdictions. And then our parks department, we're working together to make sure that when developers come in, when property owners come in, they can understand the site constraints of what's available. We do not enforce CCNRs. I just want to let everyone know that. That is not what the county does, but we do inform residents on what they can do with their property. And we always encourage them to come back to their HOA, get the proper permissions based on their CCNRs. And so we try to make sure at every opportunity that we're encouraging landowners to work with their HOAs and understand their CCNRs. We don't interpret them. We just make sure we say, if you have a CCNR, make sure you're going to your HOA and getting permissions. So I'll be available in the back with Anastasia for any questions you might have relative. I know there's questions on ADUs. I know there's questions on JADUs and SB9, and we'll be available after the meeting in the rear.
Great, thank you. I just want to, again, thank you so much for this opportunity to meet with you all. We are here. I try to emphasize, especially with my team, that we are here for the community. We are here to listen and to respond to any concerns you have. So if there's is there time to take?
We're good.
Oh, really? Okay, great. I'm happy to take some questions if anyone has a question or two.
Well, I can tell you just from information we've received from our residents that fire safety and crime are the two most important issues that they want us as a board to address so far.
Yes.
That's pretty consistent with the last few years.
Yes, and I would say that's consistent across the board. That is one of the core services that the government, public sector provides. So very much value our sheriff's department, our fire departments. Certainly with fire, fire does not see borders, city borders or county borders, so we really have to work together, and so we're working on that collaboration, not just among the cities and the county, but also with our state and our federal leaders as well. So thank you for that.
I do have a question about these automatic license plate readers. As I understand it, the county has allocated a budget for our area.
Yes.
And so what we're waiting for is for you to decide which company you're going to be going with. Do you have any idea of the time frame for that?
I might ask our assistant sheriff to come up and.
Now, like I mentioned earlier, we're in the procurement stage. To your point, we haven't allocated this fiscal year's budget. So our goal would be to spend it this fiscal year to procure that. If that doesn't happen, we'll certainly be asking the board to roll over those funds so that we can do it first thing next fiscal year. But seeing that we have an approved surveillance ordinance and we have some direction in terms of that procurement process, I'm very hopeful that we can get it done in the next 3 months before the end of the fiscal year.
What's the fiscal year? July 1st?
Yes.
July 1st, yes.
Yes. June 30th, July 1st.
So a question that I have is, how do we know that the next company won't be like Flock?
Yes.
I mean, how does that work?
Well, I think that goes back to our sheriff's department and their relationships. And frankly, when we took the vote, we also directed the department to come back with safeguards and things like, how long do you keep the data? It's 30 days, 14 days. The shorter, I think, the more safe folks feel about that. So we did list a number of areas that we asked the sheriff to do some analysis on and then come back to the board for. This is just commentary from me as an individual, and I think there was some confusion about what the vote was, but we left the door open, as I mentioned, to look at other ALPR systems, but it was a 3-2 vote. I have to say, I do have some concern when it comes back about whether my colleagues will support something.
So with those safeguards, is that including not giving any information to, let's say, federal?
Correct, yes. So it would be, yes. I don't think anyone really wants to allow for that sharing of the data, and that was really the issue with Flock, was that in Mountain View, they were doing that without Mountain View's knowledge until they did an audit. And the Flock company, I guess, said that they didn't even know it was happening. And then when they discovered it, they deleted there's like a button that you press, and they deleted that without telling the police department what they did. So that was really a breach, I believe. But yes, I will say my colleagues are very trepidatious about this, and the only way that we were going to pass something was to eliminate Flock as the vendor. So please, if this is important to you, definitely please, write in, come to our meetings if you can. You can even Zoom in now to provide feedback, because I would say at that meeting we had probably 100 public commenters, and overwhelmingly 98% of them were against the use of ALPRs.
You're saying they were against the ALPRs in
Yes,
comments?
because of privacy concerns. Yes.
Just curious, the 200 million you're saying you're cutting, what % of discretionary spending is that in the county?
So a lot of our funding is from federal and state, and that's why we have to make these cuts. Our health and hospital system has been running with a subsidy from the general fund, so at about $500 million a year. So the hole is on the health and hospital side. That's where the reductions were being made, because we lost the funding from Medi-Cal. But in essence, what it did was eliminate the need to subsidize even more from the general fund to keep the health and hospital system going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but no offense, but you didn't answer my question. Of your discretionary spending, you're cutting, you said about 200 million. What % of your discretionary spending is 200 million? I don't have
That's a really good question. We don't, so let's see. I would say it's half. So half of our funding is, well, I don't even think it is half. So property tax is our discretionary funding. That's really, it's maybe a quarter of our entire funding source.
Okay, so it's a real significant cut.
It is, yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
You mentioned, or your assistant mentioned, that when a property owner comes to you with plans to make changes of some sort, you encourage them to contact their HOA. Is it appropriate, or do you contact the HOA, or your assistant contact the HOA and say, by the way, this property owner at address X is planning to do such and such, we thought you should know?
No, that is really on the property owners.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We do not contact the HOA on behalf of property owners. We cover all of the unincorporated county, and so we have limited resources. What we do is, as Supervisor Abe-Koga said, we encourage the property owners to work with their HOAs. We do not call the HOA and say, this property owner has come in for this application.
Yeah, well, I mean,
We
just
don't do that.
to add to that, we are trying to stay on top of that. So the HOA is trying to understand what projects are up. I think, Ida, you get some information on that. But we're also, one of the things maybe we can talk about afterwards is we would like to be able to say, here's, at one time on the website, you could see current projects, right? And you can see all the projects in the area. That has been turned off somewhat.
No,
It's back on?
Yes.
It's back on,
So
okay.
you can see you can go onto our website, and you can see if you have the address or the assessor's parcel number, you can go onto the website and see whatever projects are in like being processed, right? And so, but you have to navigate our property profile and our project access through Excella. And it is available for the public. We did not turn that off.
Okay, yeah, I've used that, it was very helpful, but I talked to somebody on your staff 6 months ago, and there was something where, some things they couldn't share because of copyright or
Yes,
something like that.
plans, we have to put the plans down because there's a requirement that when we have plans available, they have to be available for ADA compliant. And that is very expensive when you're dealing with plans to make them where everybody can read them, right? And so that was the challenge. We had to pull the plans down because of that new law that went into effect in January. So you can see the project description, but it's going to be difficult now to see the plans because they have to be converted into a universal ability to read. And what happens is when they put the cursor over the plans, it has to tell them what the plans are for visually impaired, for hearing impaired, and that is an expense we can't afford right now as a county.
Maybe, I think there was one question in the back.
Was there one more question?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm coming back to the last point here. Now you're not using block at any time before you select the next year. Was the data being collected by the camera?
Can you repeat
I'm
the
sorry,
question?
could you turn this way and repeat the question to us?
In the meantime, if you're selecting the next vendor to place block, is the license, the data being collected and getting to the post office? I mean, the police department?
No, I believe the system has been turned off.
So it's been turned off, so your burglars or, lawbreakers get word of that, I'm sure they're aware of it. This is an encouragement, right, to pick up their activity.
Yes, well, so that's, my hope is that the sheriff's department will come back as soon as they can with an alternative.
But can you turn the thing on and you don't have anyone to flock to manage it, but the data is still accessible by the local police department?
I think the contract's been canceled, that there's no data being collected. The cameras are being removed.
Only they can collect the data.
Correct.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank
to
you so much.
Supervisor
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So we have a lot of people here from the county who have made time during this evening. So thank you to the speakers, to Lieutenant Flores, to Christopher Wilson from the water company. This is kind of good government in action, right? This is your chance as citizens to interact with the county and with representatives that support you. So take advantage of this time. We're going to have, I guess, until they kick us out or the cookies run out or something, you've got time to talk with people. So track down whoever you want and go find them. Thank you to everyone who participated. This is also community in action, right? This is how we build community, is people coming together to solve common problems. So thank you for being here and for participating in this. We've got some good things that is coming up in the year. If you have ideas for speakers that you'd like to hear about in the next time or communication that we might do, I think, Dick, you were collecting ideas on projects that people may want the HOA to engage in. What's that?
Share all your brilliant
Yes, exactly. Dick wants all the brilliant ideas. So again, thank you for being here. Enjoy the cookies. Grab the people that you want to talk to. And thank you for another successful meeting. And that brings us to a close.